Hey there, and welcome back to the Rock and Wellness Podcast. I am Rachel Joy Olson, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're listening on a walk, in the car, folding laundry, or maybe taking a quiet moment for yourself. Before we dive in, I want to share something that's been really meaningful in my world lately. It's April 2026, and depending on when you're listening to this, I am currently gearing up for my Aroma Yin 2-day immersion retreat I'm hosting in Bragg Creek, July 18th and 19th of this year. Why I am so excited about this retreat is because it's the first time I'm hosting it, and it's a deeply intentional space where women can come together to slow down, breathe, and reconnect with themselves through the practice of yin yoga, breath work, aromatherapy, and simply a great community. Taking time out of your schedule to attend a retreat, whether it's this one or another one that speaks to your soul, is not about doing more. It's about giving yourself permission to stop holding everything together for just a little while. If you're listening before the retreat and you feel that little pull in your heart, you can head on over to my website at rjowellness.com to explore the details and see if there are still spots available. As of right now, while I'm recording this podcast, we're just over 50% sold. And if you're tuning in after the retreat has already happened, well, no worries. You can always visit my website at rjowellness.com to see what other events, classes, and offerings are coming up next. Always got something going on. All right, let's come back to you. Because if you pressed play on this episode today, there is a good chance you're tired. Not just physically tired, but that deeper kind of tired. The kind where you feel like you're constantly on, always thinking, always planning, always holding things together for everyone else. Maybe you're juggling work, family, caregiving. Maybe you're running a business. Maybe you're trying to stay consistent with your health, your routines, your workouts, and it just feels like a lot. And then somewhere along the way, someone says, don't forget to take care of yourself. And instead of feeling supported, it almost feels frustrating. Because now self-care sounds like one more thing you're supposed to be doing, but don't have time for. I don't know how life has been for you lately, but for me and many people I know, life feels very heavy. We have our daily lives to deal with, work. Some of you listening have children to take care of. We have spouses that desire and deserve our attention, fur babies, parents, and siblings, all the while dealing with increased cost of living, unrest around the world, more and more fear and hate that we see on social media. With everything that we have going on, it's hard not to feel heavy and frustrated and stressed. Whenever I find myself feeling frustrated, fearful, even sad and overwhelmed, I know it's time for a little extra TLC, time for a breather, a timeout just for me. So let's clear something up right away. Self-care is not selfish. And more than that, it's not optional. It's foundational. Because when you are constantly pouring from an empty cup, eventually something starts to break down. And it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like snapping at people you love. Sometimes it looks like feeling emotionally numb. Sometimes it looks like struggling to focus, and sometimes it looks like waking up tired even after a full night's sleep. Or maybe it looks like you're just going through the motions of your life. That's not personal failure. That's depletion. And for so many women, especially in midlife, this becomes the norm. You've spent years, maybe decades, being the one others rely on, the one who shows up, the one who figures things out, the one who keeps going. You've been the organizer, the helper, the problem solver, the emotional container, the one who remembers everyone else's needs. And somewhere along the way, you were never really taught how to receive, how to pause, how to rest without guilt, how to take up space without feeling like you're falling behind. Maybe no one ever said it out loud, but you learned that being a good woman meant being productive, available, helpful, and strong. And strength became synonymous with self-sacrifice. But I want to offer you a different truth today. You do not have to earn your rest. You do not have to prove your exhaustion before you're allowed to slow down. You do not have to collapse to justify care. You are already worthy of support. You are already worthy of softness. And you're already worthy of space. And this is where everything begins to shift, because self-care isn't just about bubble baths and spa days, although both of those are fantastic. It's about creating space. Space in your body, space in your mind, space in your nervous system, space to breathe. So I want to guide you through something really simple right now. If you're able to, just take a moment. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Soften your belly. And take one slow breath in through your nose. And gently exhale through your mouth. Do that one more time. Inhale. And exhale. Even just that. Those few seconds, that's self-care. I know it sounds almost too simple, but the truth is most of us are living in a constant low-grade stress response. We're rushing, we're reacting, we're bracing, we're carrying tension in places we don't even notice anymore. And we don't always realize how disconnected we've become from our bodies until we finally stop long enough to feel it. As a yoga teacher, I teach a lot about connecting the breath and the body together. Breath is our life force. We need it to survive. And when we take time to intentionally draw breath deep into our body and allow a nice, calm, and relaxing exhale, we allow the nervous system a chance to relax. The mind becomes present and the body releases tension, allowing space within. I've got people who come to their mats every week, every time I teach, especially a yin yoga class. And often many of them have just said, this is just the chance where I get to breathe and just be present. And that's a huge deal. So when we talk about space to breathe, I'm not just talking metaphorically, I mean it literally. Your breath is one of the fastest ways to signal safety to your nervous system. And when your body feels safe, everything shifts. Your thoughts soften, your reactions slow down, your capacity expands. You become less reactive and more responsive, less scattered and more grounded, less braced and more present. But here's the thing. You do not get there by waiting until everything is done, because let's be honest, it's never all done. There will always be another email, another task, another responsibility, another person who needs something. So if your self-care is dependent on everything else being complete first, it's never going to happen. That's why we have to flip the script. Self-care is not the reward, it's the requirement, just like eating, just like sleeping. It belongs in your life as a non-negotiable. And that doesn't mean adding more pressure. It actually means taking pressure off, because self-care doesn't have to be big or perfect. In fact, the more realistic it is, the more sustainable it becomes. So instead of asking, when do I have time for self-care? Try asking, where can I create just a little more space? Maybe that's pausing before you say yes to something. Maybe that's taking 3 breaths between tasks. Maybe that's stepping outside for 2 minutes of fresh air. Maybe it's putting your phone down earlier than usual. Maybe it's letting something good or something be good enough instead of perfect. These are small things, but they are powerful. Because each time you choose to pause, to soften, to listen to yourself, you're rebuilding trust with your body. One of the things I absolutely love about yoga is that it gives us a much bigger picture of self-care than just movement on the mat. In the yoga tradition, there is something called the 8 limbs of yoga, outlined by the sage Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, which serve as a primary philosophical framework that encourages authentic self-care and self-realization, and also offers a beautiful roadmap for living with more awareness, balance, and peace. This is something I follow as close as I possibly can. So let's go through the 8 limbs. The first limb is the yamas, which are our ethical principles for how we relate to others and the world around us. This includes things like kindness, honesty, and not taking more than we need. The second limb is the niyama, which are the practices we turn towards ourselves. Things like cleanliness, contentment, discipline, self-study, and surrender. The third limb that many people know when it comes to yoga is the asana. This is the physical practice of yoga. The postures, it's what we often think of first. This is the part that helps us connect with the body and create strength, steadiness, and ease. The fourth limb is the pranayama, which is breath work, or the practice of working with the breath. This is an important part of self-care because the breath helps calm the nervous system and brings us back to the present moment. The fifth limb is pratyahara, which means turning inward and withdrawing from constant outer stimulation. This is the practice of stepping back from the noise so we can listen more deeply to ourselves. The sixth limb is dharana, which is the concentration or focused attention. This is where we begin to train the mind to stay present instead of scattering in 100 different directions. The seventh limb is dhyana, which is meditation, a deeper, more continuous state of inner awareness and stillness. And the eighth limb is samadhi, which is often described as a sense of deep connection, peace, or unity. So when we talk about yoga as self-care, we're really talking about a whole system that helps us care for our body, calm our mind, steady our breath, and reconnect with who we really are. And over time, when you focus on reconnection to the self, it changes everything. It changes how you move through your day. It changes how you respond to stress. It changes how you speak to yourself. It changes how available you are to the people you love. Now, I want to take this a little deeper because one of the biggest blocks I see when it comes to self-care is guilt. That little voice that says, you should be doing something more productive. You don't have time for this. Other people need you. You'll deal with yourself later. And I want to just gently challenge that because when you are constantly overgiving and undernourished, you're not actually showing up as your best self. You're showing up depleted, short-tempered, disconnected, tapped out, running on fumes. And that impacts everything. Your relationships, your work, your health, your creativity, your capacity to enjoy your life. So self-care isn't taking away from others, it's allowing you to show up more fully. Think about the version of you that feels rested, grounded, centered. That version of you is more patient, more present, more creative. That version of you makes better decisions. That version of you can listen more deeply. That version of you can hold space without losing yourself. That's the version of you your life actually needs. And this is where deeper support can become really powerful. Because while small moments matter, and they truly do, there's also something transformative about stepping out of your environment completely. About giving yourself permission to be held. To not be the one in charge for a little while, to be guided, supported, nurtured. And that's the intention behind experiences like my Aroma Yin retreats or any retreat that you decide to go to. It's not about escaping your life, it's about reconnecting to yourself within it. It's about remembering what it feels like to breathe deeply, to soften your shoulders, to hear your own thoughts again, to come back home to your body. So whether the retreat is coming up or it has already happened by the time you're listening to this episode, I want you to know that you can always go to my website at rjowellness.com and just see what's currently available, retreats, classes, events, and other ways to support your self-care practice. That space and myself are there for you when you're ready. But for today, I want to bring it back to something simple because that is where it starts. Not someday, not when things slow down, but here, today. So here's a small invitation for you. At some point today, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what do I need right now? Not what's next, not what someone else needs. What do I need? And then if it's even slightly possible, honor that. Even in the smallest way, because self-care isn't a single action, it's a relationship. A relationship with yourself built moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. So if you take anything from today's episode, let it be this. Self-care is not selfish. It's the foundation for everything else in your life. And you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to rest. And you are allowed to breathe. So thank you so much for being here with me today and tuning in. I encourage you to head on over to the podcast page at rjowellness.com/podcast, where you'll gain access to the show notes for this episode and other episodes and anything else that you need to support your well-being. So until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.